Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most game-changing books ever written, Sigmund Freud's The Interpretation of Dreams.
So let's just start with a question that, we have all asked ourselves at some point, probably after waking up, thinking, what on earth was that about? Why are our dreams so completely weird?
Freud himself used this very quote to just perfectly capture that feeling, that bizarre alien world we drop into every single night, where dogs reciting poetry somehow makes perfect sense. And for most of human history, that's really all dreams were seen as, just an alien world, totally separate from our real lives. Yeah, the thinking went that when we dream, our mind just turns its back upon the world of waking consciousness. Dreams were either, secret messages from the gods or demons, or they were just random, meaningless static, like a TV with no signal. But meaningful? No way.
But then, right at the turn of the 20th century, this one thinker comes along with an idea that was, it was completely radical.
Sigmund Freud proposed this. He said that every dream will reveal itself as a psychological structure, full of significance. He was arguing that dreams aren't noise at all. They are packed with meaning, they have a structure, and we can actually interpret them. And this was just a massive shift in thinking. Freud basically threw out both the supernatural and the purely biological ideas. He said, look, the meaning of your dream isn't coming from some divine being, and it's not just a random brain fart. It's psychological. The meaning comes from deep inside you.
Which led to his most famous, and let's be honest, his most controversial claim, every single dream is a wish fulfillment. Just let that sink in. Even your scariest nightmares, according to Freud, represent a wish being fulfilled.
So, okay, how could he possibly prove a theory that sounds that wild? Well, he did it by becoming a kind of detective. He treated dreams not as nonsense, but as a secret code that he could crack.
To show us how, Freud puts one of his own dreams under the microscope, the famous Irma's injection dream. And on the surface, it's just a total mess. You've got professional anxiety, weird medical stuff, and then this random chemical formula. It looks like absolute gibberish.
Now, to decode this, Freud said we have to realize that every dream has two layers. There's the manifest content. That's the bizarre story we remember when we wake up. But hiding underneath is the latent content. And that's the real deal, the hidden, unconscious thoughts and wishes.
The process that turns the hidden meaning into that weird surface story is what Freud called the dream work. You can think of it as the mind's own built-in encryption system. Its job is to disguise the truth.
So how does this mental encryption work? Well, Freud said it has three main tools it uses to disguise our wishes so we don't recognize them. First up is condensation. This is where the dream is incredibly efficient. It takes a bunch of different ideas, memories, even different people, and fuses them all into a single dream image. It's just like a composite photograph, packing tons of information into one picture.
And we see this perfectly in his Irma dream. The character Irma wasn't just his real-life patient. After analyzing it, Freud realized she was a mashup, a stand-in for his wife, for another patient, and even for certain parts of himself. One single person in the dream was carrying all this weight.
The second tool is called displacement. And this one is really clever. This is where the dream shifts all the emotional energy away from what's actually important and attaches it to something that seems totally trivial. It's a classic misdirection. So back in the Irma dream, that intense focus on the weird chemical name, trimethylamine, it seems so random, right? But that's a perfect example of displacement. It yanks the spotlight away from the real emotional core, which was Freud's deep anxiety about his own medical skills, and puts it on this meaningless chemical detail. So after all this decoding, what's the verdict? The dream was, without a doubt, a wish fulfillment. The hidden wish was incredibly simple. I wish I wasn't guilty. The dream is like a frantic lawyer making a case. It's not my fault Irma's still sick. It's her fault. No, wait, her illness is physical. No, actually, it was that other doctor. The dream's entire job was to make Freud feel innocent. Okay, but this whole idea of a dream work and all this elaborate code, it brings up a huge question.
I mean, if dreams are just our wishes coming true,
Why go through all this trouble? Why the complex codes and the misdirection and the disguises? Why can't the wish just be the wish?
Freud's answer was a concept he called the psychic censor. And the best way to think about it is like a bouncer standing at the door of your conscious mind. His job is to block any thoughts or wishes that he thinks are too disturbing, too unacceptable to let through. So the whole point of the dream work is to create a clever disguise so the wish can sneak past that bouncer.
So, that begs the next question. What kind of wishes are so powerful, so unacceptable, that they need that kind of heavy-duty security to begin with?
To find the answer, Freud looked to ancient myths. He figured that the most powerful and forbidden wishes we have must come from way back in our earliest childhood. He believed these ancient stories were like humanity's collective dreams. He famously wrote about Oedipus, "His fate moves us only because it might have been our own."
And this, of course, led to one of his most explosive ideas, the Oedipus complex. When he looked at that myth, the hero who kills his father and marries his mother without knowing it, Freud saw a drama playing out a universal childhood wish. He argued that a child's very first, powerful impulses of love are for the opposite-sex parent, and their first feelings of hatred and rivalry are for the same-sex parent. These primal, taboo desires, he said, are so unacceptable to our adult selves that they get pushed way, way down into the unconscious, becoming the engine for some of our most bizarre and heavily disguised dreams.
So after this deep, deep dive into the weird theater of our minds, what's the big takeaway? Why does any of this matter? For Freud, the answer was everything. As he put it, the interpretation of dreams is the royal road to a knowledge of the unconscious activities of the mind. This wasn't just a fun party trick. For him, it was the main highway to understanding the hidden forces that make us who we are. In the end, what Freud really did was hand us a kind of guidebook, a code book to our own hidden selves. And he left us with one final lingering question to ask ourselves. What are your dreams trying to tell you?